You mentioned about these programs, about mathematics or essential skills, and then how do we get people into jobs where they don't have the qualification? Can you give us any examples of that?
Absolutely. We have been so positive in terms of trying to develop courses that will interest people, firstly, but also that are required. So we have had a number of courses, and I suppose what we're trying to do, as I say, the first bit of the puzzle is accessing them. So you need to work really carefully with community leaders, with people in those areas to try and bring about that change that we want to bring. So we have run very successful courses that look at, or training initiatives that look at very simplistic things like self-esteem, confidence building, how to present yourself. Very simple stuff like how do you show up at the same place at the same time, dressed appropriately every day? You know, how do you feed yourself for a day at work? Very, very simplistic ideas like that. And then we've maybe put, 200-300 people through courses like that over the last number of years. And then once we do that with them, they're in a better mindset to take on a low-level course, whether it be in mathematics or literacy or whatever it might be. And again, we have really good examples of that working in some of our areas where you're bringing, 20 or 25 in a cohort together to do a foundation course. And you find actually if you can keep the community group connected together, there's almost like a peer incentive to show up every day, and you get a cohort that really like working together from the same area, and they bring them through. And then the bit that we have again found reasonably successful in terms of how we've delivered it is what we would call upskilling courses. So we could work with companies really, really closely to understand where the gaps are in their current talent pool. And what we end up probably doing most of the time with them is giving them some financial support to upskill existing staff into more senior roles. So if I took warehousing and logistics, massive sector in Antrim Newtownabbey, probably the biggest in Northern Ireland in terms of proportionality. Well, we can take people who have been working on the factory or on the warehouse floor for 2 or 3 years and train them to be logistic planners, which is the big gap all logistics companies face, because there's a much more complex world in terms of moving goods from one place to the other. And they need logistics planners. They need people who can map all that out. So you've got somebody in their facility who has been in the floor, knows the place back to front for a few years. What we'll do is we'll pay for their upskilling course, get them skilled as a logistics planner, and then the company will move them into that role. That then creates an opening for us to fill at that baseline level where you're stacking shelves, you're filling fulfillment orders, and we can move some of the people that we've brought through those base courses into those with the appropriate mechanisms around them to support employment, whether that be transport to the company, whether that be help with childcare, whether that be a whole variety of things. And we can bring them in at the bottom level and get them work, which is probably the most important thing.